Hello and welcome to another episode of What If It's Cool, the show where we talk about anything and everything that is cool in the world today. I am Steak Sauce, Daniel Porcro, and on this episode, I have a sit-down interview with John Day. We talk about the Southeast Asian wrestling scene, his career so far, and what exactly is going to be happening on his Australian tour. So sit back, relax, and enjoy training, improving, and now touring with John Day. Thank you firstly for being part of the show. I know you've only just arrived in Australia, and you have a very, 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 very busy schedule ahead. Month and a half, I believe it was going to happen. Now, I'm going to go completely blind because I thought I was going to have an extra week to do preparation for this, and I got 24 hours notice before I had to do this. So I've done no research. I know nothing about you. I tried to watch one match, which was you in a three-way, but there was no ring. It was on a mat.
Yeah.
And the problem
That's
is
for this company actually.
For Grapple Max.
Yeah. We'll get into that probably later. I love that match.
The one thing about that match is there's no commentary, and there's a lot where I just can't hear anything. So I didn't understand what was going on. But we'll go, like I said, we'll go into that later on. Now, I should firstly thank I don't know if I should give him props considering he calls me a Jason Crash fanboy. But I had Kid Valiant told me to get in contact with you because he sees some talent there and he wants to get your name out there. So let's get into it. Firstly, with your story, I want to know, because your name is always puzzling to me. Straight Sauce.
So
what the hell?
So the entire narrative of like my character and like the way I behave in the ring, it's very much like that young flamboyant pretty boy character. Something that very much resonates with me. Like my real life, I'm like my hair waxed up, contacts, shirt buttoned to about like halfway down my shirt. I'm very much that sort of personality. So like the straight sauce like name and moniker just seem to fit with the arrogance and the bravado and the persona that I put on in real life.
Yeah.
And also like sauce being as slang for like style, like sauce, like drip, like that kind of stuff. So straight sauce just sort of fit very much with the character that I'm trying to portray, and when it just fits. It just fits that like the pretty boy sort of character I'm going for.
Tell me, how did you get into the wrestling industry?
So the way I got into the wrestling industry is I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Greco-Roman wrestling since I was 8 years old. And so when I was about 15, I went to my first ever pro wrestling show in Singapore. And so essentially, I've been into wrestling since I was tiny. And I got to this wrestling show in 2017, and literally right after the show, and the reason I went to the show in the first place was because it was Pete Dunne coming to Singapore, and I'm a massive...
Whoa, are you serious?
Yeah, the first, like, I've got a photo of me at like 17 years old with Pete Dunne, and like...
He hates you so much. He's fantastic.
There's such, like, that show had Pete Dunne, Ho Ho Lun, Facade. It was like Dante Chen, before he went to WWE, was on that show as well. And this was before I was a wrestler. This is when I was like 15. And after the show, I reached out to the Eurasian Dragon, who's a wrestler in Singapore and Southeast Asia, who now runs the promotion Ring of Rebirth. And I talked to Dragon, and Dragon originally had suggested that I get into contact with SPW, and was like, so just message SPW, ask about training, stuff like that. I messaged SPW once I turned 16, because that's what he told me to do. Once I turned 16, message SPW. And SPW said, no, mate, you can't join. It's 18 plus. I was like, it's 18 plus. What do I do? So I go back to Dragon, and he suggests me another promotion, another wrestling school called Grapple Max. And lo and behold, 16 years old, I joined Grapple Max.
Yeah.
And Grapple Max was my wrestling home up until late last year. So I spent about 5 years at Grapple Max from 2018 to 4 years, from 2018 to 2022.
Wow. So obviously you've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a very very hard martial art to do. I have tried it. Need a lot of cardio for that. I've never been that tired in 1 minute in my entire life. What is some of the difference between BJJ as opposed to professional wrestling for you?
I think the biomechanics are very similar between the two sports, but I regard them very separately. They're very separate parts of my brain. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is competitive. It's a competitive sport. It's grappling. It's really physical chess because you're trying to work out, okay, if this person has weight here and has this grip here, what can I do to outmaneuver and put myself into a better position and then get a submission or get points? Whereas professional wrestling as is a performance, it's an art form. We are the way I love calling pro wrestling is it's a live action stunt show soap opera.
Yes.
And there is nothing else like it. So I think there are similar things from both the sports. Like one thing that I think helped in my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I transferred over to pro wrestling was like the roles and the movement. And one thing that I'm very thankful for my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background is I always know where my limbs are. I find a lot of people when they first get into pro wrestling, they don't quite know how to control their body. Like because with pro wrestling, you need to know what this arm is doing and like a leg is doing, what like every part of your body is doing without looking or by feel. And you can't think about it. You don't have time. You just need to know. And I feel with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, that was able to transfer over a lot for me, which is why I was able to pick up pro wrestling as quick as I did.
Mm.
And I think still helps my wrestling. When I injured my shoulder actually, and I took a break from pro wrestling because I separated my shoulder at the start of 2020. And when I separated my shoulder and I came back and I was about to start like rehabbing coming back, I lost that ability to just know where my body is and know what my body's doing.
Mm.
So I went back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to relearn that and then came back into wrestling. I think that helped like a lot. So they're very
How long was that period though that you were away?
that was through COVID. So I was out of training for about my rehab was about 4 months, and then I had 2 more months before training came back in Singapore because
Yeah.
we had really annoying COVID protocols. COVID hit wasn't fun.
Don't talk to me about that. I live in Melbourne, mate. Yeah, we had the worst restrictions ever.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people from Melbourne about it, and like, look, yours are bad, ours are bad. Like, I won't compare them, but I'm not gonna say that you guys were harder. It was different.
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that then.
That's fair.
Yeah, but that's fair though. 6 months, if you don't do something for 6 months, your mindset's going to be completely different. And
Yeah,
I mean, good that you identify where it is and you fix it because a lot of people go, oh well, I'll just try something else to try do that. You've done. I think
yeah.
it's really really good what you've done there.
Thank you.
So you come back from injury, you're relearning the skills. Talk me through the rest of it.
Yeah, so through COVID, so pre-COVID, that was what I would call my like trainee phase,
Mm-hmm.
almost sort of like me like being a rookie and then like really earning my stripes in Graph Max. And through COVID, that was when I discovered the straight source character, and I started like really like branching out my pro wrestling because pre-COVID, that was what I would call the pink t-shirt era wrestling of me because
Mm.
I used to wear a pink t-shirt of my own face. And I really did play the kid character. That really was my gimmick. That was my persona. I was the child. And like through COVID, that was when I turned 18 during COVID and I grew up. And during that growing up period, I started realizing that even though I was good and I was better than some people that were being booked on the same shows as me,
Mm.
I wasn't being booked as well because I didn't have the package. I I can go, I can wrestle. People wanted to learn like with me, but people want to work with me. But I wasn't marketable and I didn't have the look. I didn't have the you know what I mean? Like I didn't have the that magic does.
No, of course.
And so during COVID, I really delved deep into what I could do to make myself seem like a professional.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's very important to me now. And so I worked on the straight source character. I got custom music. So I run a local music label in Singapore. That's one of my side hustles called Closed Door Collective.
Oh, nice.
And so me and my boys, we sat down, we made my entrance theme, and I love my entrance theme so much. And the thing I love about my entrance theme is when I have like people at shows like have my entrance theme stuck in their heads. I'm like, yeah, what? That's what I wanted. Now buy my. Now you have my name stuck in your head. Buy my. Thank you. But yeah, so yeah, during COVID, I really like delved into what made a professional, and I really like tried to elevate myself from my trainee, like young boy phase,
Yeah.
my young boy phase into what I want to be and what I am trying to make myself into. So yeah, so after COVID, I worked for Grapple Max. We had two shows in 2020, nothing in 2021, and then we restarted again in 2022.
Yeah.
And so those two shows in 2020, that was like the end of like my young boy phase. That was like me really like realizing, oh, if this is what I want to do and this is what I want to grow on, then I really have to. I can't just wrestle. I need to realize that I need to look good. I need to be in shape. I need to have like my music good. I need to have my interests down pat. My personality, everything needs to be on point. My marketing needs to be on point, so that I can like grow on that. And so yeah, 2021 when we had no wrestling, that was when I really like worked on that and really like drilled in and made that happen. So that when I came back to Graphimax in 2022, I was in my straight source John Day era pretty much.
All right. So talk to me about your relationship with Carlo Cannon, because obviously you were doing some of his famous online classes. How did that sort of come about?
So that came about really easily actually. So I am close to the MyPW boys. I'm close to Malaysia Pro Wrestling. And so essentially I saw his online class on the Malaysia Pro Wrestling boys, like Instagrams and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, that's someone that they're learning from. And they seem to be improving. So why don't I delve my wrestling out of that as well?
Okay.
So I messaged one of the boys. It was either Wonderboy JYE or Emman Azman. And I was like, yo, how do I hop in this? And they were like, yeah, just message Carlo. And so like I still got my first few messages where I'm being like super polite, super like hi sir, can I please join your class? Like very like awkward young boy. Because I'm very like I'm naturally a very shy human being.
Yes.
So it's like that little awkwardness, and then I'm like now me and Carlo are quite close. But yeah, so I learned a lot from that, and I feel that helped me leaps and bounds my understanding of pro wrestling. And like it really did, like there were things I understood to do and like I was taught to do, but I never had whys. And that was why I was never implementing well. And then with Carlo, I learned a lot of the whys and a lot of why things are done the way they are. How things are supposed to work. And I really appreciate, and I am massively appreciative of Carlo for that.
Just because obviously I'm not a wrestler, but I remember seeing a lot of the stuff he would post. He would just post a photo and said, "Oh, doing online classes." What exactly does he do in the classes? Is he in a room and he's just, and you guys are just in a room working on new characters? What exactly does he do in these classes exactly?
I don't know how much it's fair for me to get into, but
just a basics.
Yeah, so it was just everything, man. We have classes on promos, we'd watch matches, Carlo is really a fountain of knowledge when it comes to pro wrestling, especially like with the people he's trained and like the places he's been and like the people that we can talk to through Carlo. It's like with, especially as a wrestler from Southeast Asia, where there's really not a lot of knowledge. Southeast Asian wrestling is just about 10 years old. Like,
really,
our industry, like Singapore's first professional wrestler is still about, like, he's still like a main eventer here. Our regional pro wrestling, right? The way that you know it is not old. Graphimax is about 6 years old. SPW, Southeast, like to my knowledge, Southeast Asia's oldest promotion, is only recently turned 10.
I'm shocked. I thought that they'd been there for a while.
Mate, we had wrestling here in like the 60s to the 80s.
Mm.
We had like the world of sport. Like there was I think it was Stan Hansen versus Ric Flair for the NWA belt has happened in during like the 70s, happened in a venue 15 minutes away from my house.
Right.
It's really random, but yeah, we didn't have wrestling in Singapore. Like we didn't have pro wrestling in Singapore for a really long time, and wrestling in Singapore is still super new.
God,
Yeah, man.
I couldn't even imagine my life without wrestling.
To put this into perspective, right?
Yeah.
Emman Azman is one of the first pro wrestlers in Malaysia.
Yes.
That's how new, like, and Emman is like only a year or two older than me. So just to put that into perspective, like he's got veteran status and he's still so young. That's how young this industry is in this region.
Now I understand why there was so much press when he went back home to Malaysia. And man,
He's a veteran to us, man. Like I've got so much respect for him as well.
no, I just like, oh, that's really cool, but I didn't realize how big he actually is over there. I was like, that's cool, but I just like I just didn't understand it. Now I totally understand. And
Yeah,
I have to give him more props now. Next time I see him, I feel really bad now I didn't really take it so seriously. Yeah, but do you have a big relationship with him at all?
yeah, that's big, bro. That's like, so he was one of the first people. So to like he was sort of like a de facto member of Grapmax for a while, like while still with MyPW, who's kind of like Grapmax's adopted son, and he was kind of like a role model for me because he was the kid before me essentially.
Yes.
So I look at him and I'm like, okay, so that's what I want to strive towards, and like he still is. Emman is still like for me, he's still like someone who I very much look up to and I very much want to emulate. And yet, like, yeah, me and Emman are close. I'm super close.
No, I'll never forget the very first time I ever saw him, and I just remember thinking, oh, okay, he's a short kid. Yeah, you're not gonna really do much. Blew me away, and just oh man, I can't speak any more highly of him. I think he's absolutely fantastic. The match he had at World Series Wrestling recently, it's not recently, but a year ago, with Alex Zane and Trey Miguel. Easily that was one of the best match I've ever seen live, and yeah, and if he's your boy, you know, I expect big things out of you too.
Appreciate it. If I'm 10% as good as him, I'm happy. If I'm like 10-20%, I'm happy.
Well, I don't know because I didn't have much time to do preparation, so I can't really say much. I really wish I had more time to do the research on this one because honestly, just from hearing your story so far, I'm a bit heartbroken because I want to know more about this guy, and it feels like I'm being a dick because I don't know much. But at the same time, like it's not my fault. It's actually your fault on this one.
Wait, I mean, I'm also free next week. Like,
nah, but you, my friend, have got a very very busy schedule the next month and a half. You know,
I've got 54 days here.
Yeah. Well, let's before we get back into your career, let's just quickly run off what's happening with you here in Australia, because your Australian tour kicks off officially next week. Well, when this comes out, this week on Friday.
Okay, so let's see what's announced. What can I talk about properly? So on the 10th of June, I will be wrestling against Craven at Wide Bay Pro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite excited about it because Craven was a big part. Craven was quite like a big reason I ended up coming here because he's worked for SPW before, Singapore Pro Wrestling, and that's where I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I'm going to be working for Wide Bay. Then I come to Melbourne on the 6th of July. I'll be wrestling in Melbourne all around July pretty much, and then I'm in Perth on the 23rd of July, and then I'm back home. Not a lot's been announced yet, so I don't know what I'm allowed to properly say.
It's okay. I will be promoting the shit out of it for you, my friend.
But I will be at MXW on the 15th against a very, very familiar name. I'm not going to confirm or deny who I'm wrestling against or who I'm going to beat the shit out of, but like...
Yeah. All I'm going to say is beat the living out of him.
Yeah, kind of doable.
Yeah. if you guys haven't worked it out, I kind of just gave it away. But yeah,
As long as he puts up a valiant effort, I'm happy.
yeah, that'd be all right. I mean, he's just a kid after all. Um,
Very
all
good.
right, all right.
Very
So
good.
so you've done the training now. What happens next after that with you?
I mean, to me, I'm still training. I'm still trying to get better. But for me, and like wrestling in Southeast Asia, I've realized how good Southeast Asian professional wrestling is. But
Mm.
also, I feel like the only way, like as wrestlers from Southeast Asia, we're gonna bring energy back to it, and we're gonna bring things back to it, is by leaving, making a name for yourself, and coming back. Kind of like what Emman's done for MyPW and what Dante Chen is doing for SPW and Singapore in general after going WWE and doing so well. I think it's very much like the jobs of Southeast Asian professional wrestlers to go out and get people to care about our industry. And once people care about our industry, once people from the outside, like hopefully once I've wrestled around Australia, Australian wrestling fans will be like, oh, okay, we'll keep tabs on him. And if ever anywhere where I'm wrestling in Southeast Asia, or let's say someone who's watched me at Wide Bay next week is in Singapore, and then sees, oh, this guy wrestles in Singapore, and then comes to Singapore and it's like, oh, there's wrestling here. Let's watch a show. That's the objective. The objective is just to bring eyes back to the region, man,
Yeah, no, of
and to
course.
hopefully bring eyes to me and my work.
Well, it's going to be a lot of weight on your shoulders on there, but I think you're gonna be kicking goals doing that. And look, I didn't realize how little that industry was over there. I thought it was just like what we have here. You know, it's somewhat big, but I thought we were bigger, and clearly not. Um,
Hey, I've
but
been told for
yeah.
like a long time now how good the Australian independent scene is. Like even in Singapore and in Southeast Asia, our circuit, like it's not, but like to call the Southeast Asian wrestling scene like a travelable circuit is so difficult because there's three promotions in Singapore, there's two promotions in Malaysia, two in the Philippines, and just think about how much that travel costs. Think about how difficult it is to make a name doing that circuit.
Mm.
And so the only way to be a Southeast Asian professional wrestler and really like make it is to make a name outside and then come back. And that's really the objective now.
Who do you? I'm going to be putting you on the spot on this one. Who do you think needs to have the spotlight right now? That's in these territories right now. Name a couple.
Oh, oh. Let's go Singapore and then Malaysia. So
Yeah.
Singapore, honestly, just in general,
Mm-hmm.
Grapple Max needs more eyes on it. Like I'm saying this, like Grapple Max and SPW both need more eyes on it. Like the amount of talent that Singaporean professional wrestling and Ring of Rebirth, of course, the amount of talent that Southeast Asian professional wrestling has is insane. So do you? So the one person from Singapore you should really look out for is the Butcher Man.
The Butcher Man.
Butcher is like I like Butcher character on point. Honestly, if Butcher came out to Oz, if Butcher was doing what I'm trying to do now, you guys would eat him up. Really.
Okay.
Butcher is like he plays the character. He carries around a cleaver. He's got the apron. It's very much it's almost like a modern 80s style character, and it's so good, and he plays it so well, and he's also a very talented wrestler in general, so it works. Then in Malaysia you've got Wonder Boy JYE from IPW,
Mm-hmm.
and then Miles Carew, who's the current IPW like double champ.
Yep, I've
they're
seen their
both
work. They're
they're
pretty
both
good.
phenomenal. J- JYE is a terrifying human being with what he can make his body do. He just like his I don't understand his I love him. I don't understand his brain. But he's just so good. And Miles is one of the most committed like wrestlers in this region. He wants to make this work. He's going to make this work. And like the work that Carlo and Emman have done with those boys and the rest of the MyPW crew in general is insane.
Mm.
And yeah, so I would say just honestly in general, just watch the stuff that comes out of like Grapple Max, watch the stuff that comes out of SPW. I wrestled for SPW last week actually, on the 26th of June. Yeah, 26th of June versus Big T, who's a veteran of the Singapore and the Southeast Asian circuit, and Masa Takanashi of DDT.
Whoa. Okay.
Chris Brooks and him are the current SPW tag team champions.
Right.
And yeah, so it was an honor to wrestle like Masa, and like yeah, so that show should come out on YouTube fairly soon. Yeah, just keep eyes on Southeast Asian wrestling, man. Oh, if you want Singapore, another name is Big Dave. Big Dave, like Singapore, Big Dave used to go under the name Smart Dave.
Oh yeah. I know Big Dave. Because when you said Big Dave, we have
you guys have your own Big Dave, yeah.
Yeah, we have
I've been told.
Yeah, and I was like, that would be a dream match to see those two having a go at each other. Because have you seen our Big Dave before? Yeah, he's a scary guy. Not nicest man you'll ever meet, but he's fucking terrifying. In the ring.
So is our Big Dave. Our Big Dave is too. Honestly, that'd be a fun match to watch. Just a sit there, popcorn, and see two big meaty men slap the each other. Great.
Ooh, I smell money here, man. I reckon. Use the hashtag Big Dave versus Big Dave. Let's make it happen, eh?
But yeah, so Big Dave, the current Grapmax openweight champ. For context, Big Dave is also one of the coaches in Grapmax. So Grapmax is the two founders, N-Boss Gregory and the lady, Crypto Bro LK used to go under the name Lady Killer. That's what I'm like. And like those three and Dave were pretty much instrumental in the start of my pro wrestling career when I was starting out in Grapmax. And they had to deal with me as this short, chubby 16-year-old dickhead. And they put up with me very well. And it's at a point where those three I view as like my mentors in pro wrestling. And Dave, honestly, if it wasn't for COVID, would be in the stratosphere right now. Big Dave deserves eyes. Big Dave really deserves eyes.
Maybe I should get Big Dave on here and have a chat and maybe build some clout and get the other Big Dave in and let's make this happen. I reckon. John, I reckon we should become promoters, mate. We should make some money on this. Well, so what exactly has drove you to come to Australia? Like, I know that there's been some press. There's been people, tagging you, said let's have a match. But what actually drove you here? Because it's very, very, very
honest. To like be brutally honest, I think in like this entire like part of the world, like in Australasia or whatever, I think Australia's got the best independent scene.
Thank you. Yes, we do.
And honestly, it's at a point where when I look at the world of pro wrestling, and I'm not trying to piss people off when I say this, but when I look at the world of pro wrestling, the place that excites me, and I'm like, oh, I want to go to Australia. I want to do, because there's so much around here that just looks dope. Like all the Deathmatch Down Under stuff looks dope. All the stuff coming out of like that, like Perth, all the NHPW, like Southern Territory, all that stuff looks dope. Everything around this region just looks really exciting, and it looks like there's so many people that I want to work, and so many people I want to meet. And also, like through COVID, when I started seeing Emman, honestly, seeing Emman and his rise and like what he's doing now, and they're doing the online classes with Carlo and like seeing the level of knowledge, the level of the quality of wrestling that's the middle line here. Like let's put it like this. The passing mark of pro wrestling here is so high. And I'm like, okay, I moved to England in September from Singapore. And once I'm there, I'm going to be doing the European scene. My intention is to do the UK, do the tours, do the European scene. But before I do that, while I'm still living in Singapore, I don't want to pass up the opportunity to have this right now, especially as I've got like a little bit of free time and a little bit of money that I can spend on this. And I just want the opportunity to meet and learn and experience what being an independent wrestler in this region is like before I move.
I think you're going to be absolutely killing it in England,
Thank you.
in Europe, if you keep up with this mindset of yours, and stay positive, mate, because you will go far with that mindset. Now, because you are in Australia, I've got to ask a couple of questions. What are you most excited to see here in Australia? And will you have kanga meat?
Mate, if someone brings it to a show and pays me, I'm down for anything. Like put it in my hand, put a 10 in the other hand, I'll eat it. Whatever it is. But oh, there's honestly, I'm just like excited to experience. This is my first trip out of Asia since COVID.
Mm.
Like I grew up due to my parents' jobs, I grew up bouncing around. And so I didn't travel for a long time. And Singapore is a very Singapore, let's put it like this. What I didn't quite process is how fucking big this country is. Brother, Singapore, right? You can get from one end to the other in about an hour and 40 minutes by train. There was a holiday maker who walked across, who I think went on like a run across Singapore.
Yeah.
It took him about 52 hours. And of course, the was Australian. Like, of course he had
Of course he was.
Because who else would do that?
Go us.
But yeah, like, also, like, this is really random, but like the moment the moment I got into Melbourne Airport and I got like through to the bag check, I saw like a family, and they had like three boys, like a toddler and like a 4-year-old and like a 6-year-old. All three had mullets, and I was like, yeah, I'm in Australia. It's like, yeah, I'm here. I've made it.
Oh God! Speaking of the mullet, did you know that there was a couple of schools that tried to ban the mullet?
I mean, valid. Yeah. Am I gonna cop heat for saying that? Yeah, that's fair enough.
I don't give a I think the mullet is the most ugly hairstyle in the world. Like you can say it's the greatest thing in the world. I think it's terrible, and I don't care if I get hate for that. Literally, I don't think it's attractive at all. Oh God, now I'm gonna out him out. Even my dad was not dumb enough to have that. Like, and this is when my dad still had hair too. He was not dumb enough to do that. But one thing you do need to be cautious of: drop bears, man. And dangerous.
Is that actually the thing? I saw. I saw like 4 people have told me about it. I was like, oh, okay.
There's no bushland anywhere near you right now, right?
Can I admit, like, this was like my thought when I landed in Gold Coast and I was on my way to my hotel, and like I was on like the shuttle. I was like, I feel like I'm in GTA. Like it looks like it looks like GTA, but not. It looks like off-brand GTA, and I don't quite get it because I'm so used to Singapore at this point. Because I haven't left. Because I grew up moving around, but I haven't left the country since I was 17.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is interesting. But yeah, honestly, I'm just excited to like obviously I'll do the touristy stuff, but my main intention, the main reason I'm here is for the wrestling. And so I want to learn, I want to improve, I want to meet people, and I hope that this isn't all for nothing, essentially.
Yeah, it won't be all
That's
for
my main
nothing,
mindset.
mate. Won't be all for nothing, mate, because you're coming to the best country in the world. You're going to be wrestling some of the best talent we have here. You're going to be working with like the ones that we can't announce, but the ones you've already told me. You'll be working for some amazing companies, mate.
I'm very excited.
You are set, guaranteed.
And this is the first time in like I haven't wrestled overseas in like it's the thing I find very interesting is this is the first time I feel like I've wrestled where I'm gonna go to shows and I'm not gonna know absolutely everyone at the show.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to do the whole shake hands, hey brother, what's your name? Da, da, da. I'm gonna have to do that, which I feel is gonna be a necessary experience if I want to grow as a pro wrestler. Because in Singapore and Malaysia and like our region, like in general, everyone knows everyone. Like with Singapore, for example, right? It's at a point where Singapore. Let me like you. I've told you how small Singapore is. Singapore has a population of about 6 million people.
No, that's actually pretty small.
That is nothing.
Mm.
And so it's at a point where Like I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll be like I'll be a wrestler and I'll be at a show, and then like family will come to the show. I was like, I went to school with that guy. I went national service with that guy. It's like, and I'm like, yeah, it's also like this is the first time I feel where the only thing that's gonna bring me close to people and the only thing I might have in common with people is the love for pro wrestling. And this is such a new experience for me, and I'm really excited to honestly feel like an indie wrestler, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, man. And look, it's going to be a little bit daunting, but I think that's where the fun's going to be. Just
Mm.
meeting and shaking people. Like for me, the way that you're just saying it there, it reminds you of I'm not going to say who it was, but a wrestler who you said they go up to veterans and shake their hands and
Yeah.
everything, and that's the best sign of respect. I don't even think you should not do it at all. I reckon you should just do it even if you know them. Just like, hey, but
Yeah.
remember me. It's a great way to show respect.
Mm.
Mm.
I was very like that's actually something that like Carlo specifically talked to me about and like did a class about was the respect and like it's very old school and my mentality on wrestling, especially like the way I was raised as well, works with my mentality on wrestling because I'm very respectful. I try to be very respectful. I'm very much shake hands, give up chairs, pass water bottles. I'm very much that kind of person because even like with Singapore, what's made me realize is that because I know the first generation, I know exactly what they've done to get this scene to what it is. I can ask and I know exactly what's happened and I
Yeah.
know exactly what the scene has been. I can go back and watch some of the first promos to ever come out of Singapore. Like that's an insane thing. I can if you go to SPW like YouTube channel, you set it from oldest to newest, you can see the like you can see when they were pretty much backyarders and you can see the growth. And I think that has been very eye-opening with the way I treat pro wrestling now and the
Mm.
way don't take I try not to take like people's efforts and the growth people have caused for granted because I know I'm stepping into something that's pre-built.
Yeah. Well, you've got a foundation to build now, but you've also got the people who were there that laid the first bricks to give you a hand on that one, and we don't have that over here because we obviously professional wrestling's been around for a very very long time. We have the lineage of having the NWA here,
Yeah.
back in the 60s and 70s and well, up to the 90s, I believe. Um, and a lot of the veterans, unfortunately, have now long passed away. I reckon Australian wrestling is on the rise, but it's good to see the Southeast Asia wrestling scene is on the rise as well. And yeah, it's good to meet one of the pillars. That's for sure.
Honestly, like the thing that I like realized about Australian wrestling was when I was like, what is it from where I am to Wide Bay? I think it's a 4 hours drive. I was like, people, I've got like I didn't quite realize how far away things are. Mate, like when I was going like SPW, like when I do SPW, right? When I did the last SPW show, I woke up 2 hours before the show, like 2 hours before the call time. I woke up, went to the gym, took a shower, ate on my way there. Yeah, I've got to wake up the morning of like it's such like an eye opening experience how far and how like different this is.
Mm.
It's so different yet such the same, and I'm really excited to experience that. I think there are times where we have it good, and those being like the fact that we have if a massive name is coming to Singapore, they can first of all because Singapore is a fairly well-to-do country.
Mm.
It is, and also people like rest like there are people who want to come here just on like a tourist basis, and so there are wrestlers who will come here to wrestle here, but they're also coming on holiday, which makes that opportunity a lot easier. And
Yeah.
also, if a big name comes to Singapore, like we've had we've had Pete Dunne, we've had Kenny Omega, we've had New Japan have come here once. Like it's it's lucky because if you're a Malaysian fan or like a Filipino fan or like if you're in this region, your flights and your travel, like you can drive the length to Singapore and not even leave not even leave it like a major city in Australia. Like that's insane to me, and it's still having to click in my head. The fact that I had the fact that I'm gonna take a 4 hour drive to wrestle at Wide Bay. If I want to go train, I have to travel an hour and a half. And also, I don't drive. I've never had to learn. And now I'm like, because Singapore's public transport system is phenomenal. And so it's all just like, it's all these culture shocks, which I also love. I love them, but they're also like, just a bit jarring, a little bit jarring, tiny bit jarring.
Hashtag first world problems.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
No, but look, it's going to be experience. It's going to mold you. It's going to build you up. And look, good luck to you, man. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck to you. You'll and just enjoy the ride. You know, we always think about the destination, and I'm not talking about going to this place. I'm talking about just our goals in general. So for people try understand what I'm saying here, we forget that the journey is more important than the actual goal. And I know for me, and I'm not going to go to a long time. I'm just going to make it short and quick. For me, I always want I always say I want to do this. And then I forget the challenges are going to be the way to get there. What if it's cool is the perfect example of that for me. I wanted it to be this, and I realized, hang on, I have to be doing this every single day to get to my destination. Did I want to do it? I'm a lazy bloke, but at the end of the day, it has to get there, and I'm actually enjoying the journey now. I love every little thing I have to do in this show, and wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And I think that's what you need to do for this. That anything at times get tough, just go. It's just part of the journey. Let's just keep on going through.
Yeah.
All right. Well, John, we are at the staple question here. What if it's cool? What is something that you find cool that nobody else does?
Watford Football Club. Let's go with my team. So, for context, my dad is from Watford.
Good God.
Watford. My dad's from Watford. When I was living in the UK, I lived near Watford. That's my team. No matter what happens, no matter how much of a shithole my club is, like I have a Watford tattoo just above my knee. Like I have a hornet.
He's scarred for life. Oh no.
No, I'm scarred on the inside already. Like I've supported this club through thick and thin. Like I know. Trust me, I know. There's been a lot more. There's been a lot more thick than there's been since success, honestly. But it's my football club.
All right. And it's because your dad from there. Oh God, I can't do it. I just said,
to make it even worse, right? Look at if you bring up a photo of my trunks, my new trunks, my shorts.
Yes.
It's the Watford badge.
Oh, for sake.
So so my new trunks, right? One side is my music label.
Yeah.
So it says Property of Closed Door Collective on one side. That's the music label I co-run, and the other side is a parody of the Watford badge. And then I've got a few other like hidden details which I keep very personally to myself.
All right.
But yeah, unfortunately, I'm a Watford fan.
Oh God! All right, to redeem yourself, while you're here, and I will stay in contact with you. You need to pick an A-League side, you need to pick an AFL side, and you need to pick a NRL side. Have you?
I want to go to the what is it? The A-League finals tonight, right? It says 7 o'clock kickoff, something like that.
I think so.
Yeah, so I'm a massive football fan. I'm a massive like sports person in general. So in Singapore, we have what's called the Singapore Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
It was so in about 2017 they rebranded it from the S League, the Singapore League, to the Singapore Premier League, and they promised that they were going to do a whole overhaul, and they're going to make this league so they're going to pump money, they're going to like rebrand everything, they're going to do anything. What do you think changed?
Just the name. Just the name. All right. You know what the sad thing is? If there's only one thing I know about Singapore is that. Because I remember my mate who's a massive soccer fan or football fan told me about it, and I just went, what a all suggestion. Like, I mean, great. The name sounds great, but you should have done something else.
Hey, we had Jermaine Pennant for a season, and that sums out how much we had Jermaine Pennant, ex-Watford, ex-Arsenal. Like this man has ex-Arsenal. Like this man has been about. We had someone who played in like the upper echelons of English football, which just didn't have like any way to like just couldn't behave, and he wasn't even top scorer that season. You played in the Premiership, and you're not top scorer against a bunch of motherfuckers and about 12 fans.
He's in a. I don't want to say this negatively, but he's in a minor league. You know, like he's probably just gone. Yeah, they're paying me a couple mil. Yeah, it, I'm just gonna be mediocre.
There was the reason why me and my dad love the SPL, because this is like a big bonding thing with me and my dad. My dad doesn't actually live in Singapore, so he travels back and forth from Thailand where he lives and works. And whenever he's back, we try and catch the SPL. And the reason we love it is because there's always a comedy goal, a referee error, and a fight. There's always a fight. I love it. No, because thing is, right, you put like it. I feel like it's just the best. It's so good. And let me tell you the best part. So with the SPL, right, you can't by right drink a beer in the state. You can't drink a beer in the stadium.
I don't drink anymore, but you gotta be able to drink there.
But mate, the way they get around it, right, is that they put the drinks kiosk by the entrance, and then they put like the barricades, and they create their own beer garden just by the side of the pitch. And like, there's been times, right, where all the stadiums in Singapore are owned by a company called Sport SG.
Yes.
And Sport SG leave the stadiums open so people can go running and like just use the stadium for like other recreational activities. There was a time where I saw a fight between, not like a proper fight, but like an argument between like these like 80-year-old Chinese grandmothers like trying to do like some like light jogging around the track, and then like the stewards trying to clear them out because there's a match later. Because it's a running track around the stadium, and you've got the football teams warming up on the pitch, and you've just got. It's so good. It's so good.
Oh god, I just want to go there now just to see that. That'll be friggin' awesome to see.
And this is the most Singapore thing ever. Yeah. We have a team called Tampines Rovers.
Wait! What's a Tad Fish? Was it
Tampines?
Oh, Tampines. I thought you said Tad Fish. I went, what a name!
Tampines Rovers, and Tampines Rovers play in the most Singaporean thing ever. They play in a football pitch inside a shopping center.
You're fucking with me. No. You're fucking me. No. Are you serious?
They play in a place called Our Tampines Hub.
Right.
And of course, Singapore, they have to make it inclusive, so they use Our instead of just Tampines Hub.
Right.
Singapore has a habit of doing shit like that. And so with Tampines Hub, right? Let me just describe it. So it's a four-sided stadium. Only one side is the stand. Then the other side, there's a black box theater here on the second and third floor. There's a library across this side. There's a shop. There's just shops on this side.
Yeah.
And so you can go to the library and watch a match. You can sit in the library and watch the match. And the best part is, right, that there's two things I love about it. On the roof around, because it's an open rooftop. Yeah. But it's just like around the sides, right? There's a running track around the top, on the outside, on the top floor. So you're just there and you're just like watching these people run at the top. There was once like my dad and I were at the football, and we saw someone. There was a foul on the pitch. They were going to VAR, and we saw a fella on the top on the running track running in like a pair of black shorts and a yellow shirt. We're like, the VAR official.
God.
Brother, that's not even that's honestly not even the best part. The best part, right? No, that's not the best part. If you go to a 7 p.m. kickoff on a Friday, right? Yeah. Behind the goals on the right side of the stand, on the first floor, there's a bunch of glass rooms. They're like classrooms. They're like dance. You know, like they've got glass on one side of the wooden floor. Yeah. There's a Zumba class that goes from 6:45 to like 8:15. So the first half of the match, you got like the Middle-Aged Wives Club doing their Zumba just by the match. And it's great. I love the Singapore Premier League. It's honestly the best. It's so fucking good. And you can't, by right, bring food into the stadiums. But this is what happens specifically with Tampines Hub, right? There's a bit where you can there's a bit where it's about maybe a 4-foot gap in between like the stadium, like in between like the stand and the like one of the gaps between the shops.
Yeah.
And so if you want food, you just buy your food and then just like lob it. You're not allowed food in there. I've had a full Wingstop platter inside a Japanese Rovers game before. It's the best. You can't not love it. It's our Singapore. So Singapore, the Singapore national team, right?
Yeah.
We have a 65,000 seater stadium called just Singapore National Stadium, right? It was built to host football, rugby, athletics, and cricket. Can you guess the one sport that's never been played there?
So it meant to have those, but out of those ones, or just in general?
Out of those 4 sports, one of those has never been played in Singapore. Football, rugby, athletics, cricket.
Cricket.
Yes, because no one in Singapore about cricket.
Yeah, I know.
I grew up playing cricket, but like even I don't give about the Singapore team. But there was a point where that's supposed to be the home of the Singapore national team, right? The Singapore national team had to play at another stadium in Singapore because there was another event going on at the national stadium that day. A BTS concert.
So instead of a nationally recognized team, they ran one BTS.
It's so good. I love the way Singapore treats sports sometimes. It's the best.
Oh my god. I love Singapore and I've never even been there yet.
Mate, you need to come out here, like, for a show. Like,
oh my god.
Singapore is there's really no place like Singapore. It's
Oh, it sounds like it, mate. Oh my god. I love it so much. Oh god. Oh, let me just compose myself. Jeez, that is the
just the way Singapore operates is it's something worth experiencing.
Oh well, yeah. I'll definitely have to check it out one day when I eventually go there.
Come to the SPL, mate. You're one of the 12 people in the stadium. It'd be great.
That'll be awesome. Next, all right, let me count down. Next time I have you on the show, we have to. We won't talk about wrestling. Let's just talk about stories about Singapore.
Man.
This sounds so good. John, where can we find you on all your socials?
My Instagram and my Twitter are both JohnDay_Pro. I will be wrestling at Venom Pro Wrestling. Yeah, I'll drop the Venom booking as well. I'm wrestling at Venom on the 17th of June. I will be at Wide Bay on the 10th of June against Craven. What I'm trying to think what I can say.
Well, we can't. I'll promote the other ones when they come out because I don't want to get you in trouble. I just reckon when you verse that person in Victoria, just give me a really nice ass kicking for me. Thank you. Because there's only so much a guy can be called a Jason Crash fanboy, and when they're trying to be impartial. Anyway, John, thank you so much for being part of What Is Cool.
Thank you, man. Absolutely
amazing. Can't wait to meet you when you come out here. John Day, thank you for being part of What Is Cool.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And that's the end of that episode. Want to be featured on What If It's Cool or know someone with an interesting story that needs to be told? Reach out to me. I can be reached on whatifitscoolbusiness@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Want more from What If It's Cool? Make sure to check out the YouTube channel where you can find the latest episodes of Muck Playing Around, reaction, and of course, the podcast. Don't forget to follow What If It's Cool on all socials. It can be found at What If It's Cool. Keep that sport coming. And until next time, I'll catch you on next one. Peace.